I still have no idea how we even grow wheat in space so we can make space beer.
Happy Space Day, Talkschitavenger. Isn't it a wonderful day to live in space?
Oh hey Barack, happy Space Day.
What are you drinking? It smells good. I'm going to come closer to smell it. It smells really good. By the way, I have a case of space AIDS. I hope you don't mind.
Okay, maybe we should just keep it like, I don't know, 6 feet apart. You stay over there on your side with your space AIDS, and I'll stay over here on my side trying not to catch your space AIDS. How does that sound?
I have a question. Do you know how we came here, to space? How did humanity achieve such a thing?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Barack, but in order to understand the future we inhabit, we must first look into the past. In November 2020, a Twitter user by the name of Stardew Leaf was minding her business and enjoying her Saturday morning when she posted a picture of her Animal Crossing character on Twitter, and she made a comment on her character's new hairstyle, cute space buns. And that really should have just been it, right? You know, a cute little wholesome Twitter post you would probably just usually scroll past without a second glance. Well, no, actually, because this tweet was the catalyst to one of the greatest Twitter meltdowns our society has ever seen, because apparently Stardew Leaf's avatar was not in fact wearing cute space buns, but rather Afro puffs. Now, to normal people, this really isn't an issue. It isn't even worth correcting someone over because it's just a video game, and come on, just look at the texture. Animal Crossing isn't exactly known for its cutting-edge graphics, but most people on Twitter are far from fucking normal, and they saw this as justification to label Stardew as an actual racist for appropriating black textured hair for her Animal Crossing character. And when there is accusations of racism flying around, the next thing that comes is the cancel train. Dozens and dozens of Animal Crossing fans started responding to her and telling her that it's not okay to call them space buns and that she should not wear them if she's white. Now, this started off as just simple passive-aggressive corrections, but this soon devolved into full-blown harassment. And people went from saying that this was just a simple mistake to saying that Stardew was a literal white supremacist who was trying to cause harm to people of color by posting this. This one's for Stardew Leaf. I know at your big age you are smart enough and socially aware enough to know that you are doing more than just posting pictures of space buns. You know the implications. You also know how your actions have incited virtual violence on many of my friends.
What? What the fuck?
And other members of this online community. If you posted the photo innocently, that is fine, but once black people told you their lived experiences and educated you on the matter, you doubled down, got defensive, and ignored real people with real concerns with your actions. You continue to weaponize your platform against black people and those who stand in solidarity with them. Please take a hard look at what you're doing and how your followers see you. You passive-aggressive quote tweets and call-outs have encouraged doxing, threatening, bullying, and name-calling that is brazen and uncalled for, instead of civil discussions. You choose to make snide comments and let your aggressive followers attack the individual you've called out. Please reevaluate your purpose here. Do you want to enjoy the game with, okay, blah, blah, blah? If you're going to tweet this fucking much, make a twit longer, please. And while we're on the topic of essays written on Twitter, let's talk about conspiracy theories real quick. Conspiracy theories are fun to delve into. It's actually a pretty creative way to make something boring and anticlimactic seem much more interesting and impactful than it actually is. The problem with conspiracy theories, though, is that most are unsupported by evidence and are more likely to have significant contradictions in their logic and reasoning. However, this did not stop some of the Animal Crossing community from putting one of their own about the Space Buns girl. This person in particular had a rather interesting claim about Stardew Leaf and her history on the internet, and how she was actually a notorious racist troll who's been terrorizing the Animal Crossing community. It's 30 tweets long. I'm just going to summarize this conspiracy real quick. This person, Maya, claims that Stardew Leaf was actually a person named Pinky who got canceled by the community for saying the gamer word and made several new accounts such as Edie and Melania. And apparently Stardew Leaf is this same person, this horrible racist troll who's been terrorizing their community. And the whole Space Buns post was an elaborate tool designed to specifically hurt people of color. So that settles it, right? Stardew was actually a racist the whole time, and you are a horrible person if you ever defended her, or was at least skeptical of whether or not Space Buns was racist. Well, no, actually. The majority of the evidence this person Maya provided in this thread is purely speculative. There's actually no real proof tying Stardew to any of the troll accounts aside from some cherry-picked coincidences. Not to mention, it appears some of the screenshots provided as evidence may have been doctored through the use of Inspect Element, which was pointed out by people reading the thread, and there was massive contradictions on how this person was trying to correlate all the information together. And it gets worse because it turns out the person who posted this is kind of a hypocrite. And half of this whole thread contradicted itself, while the other half was just the author telling everybody how bad of a person they were if they were skeptical of her claims. Now sure, maybe this is some pretty crazy stuff, but it's not the most insane reaction you are going to see here, because someone was just angry enough about this whole situation to attempt to actually hack into Stardew Leaf's Twitter account. Now, I think it's only worth mentioning that the person behind this cyber attack wasn't some deep web super hacker, but rather they were just guessing her Twitter password over and over again to no avail. Yeah, that's right, two-factor authorization. It's kind of a bitch. But it does show that this person had at least enough information about Stardew's emails and other social media handles to at least attempt something like this, which ironically only pokes a larger hole in the conspiracy theory about Stardew being a notorious racist troll, because if they had access to her email and other social media handles, why didn't we see more concrete evidence that she was a racist troll than what we saw in the Twitter thread? It really does start to make you think about the whole fucking conspiracy theory and why it was made in the first place. But regardless of my own speculations on the matter, this only went to show just how angry people were over this. Some of these guys really wanted to hurt this girl and force her off the internet, and nobody wanted to hurt her more than a person named Dylan. You see, Dylan is Crossing. He's a big Animal Crossing fan and a big advocate for social justice, and when he saw this case of cultural appropriation in his favorite video game, he started to seethe in his rage. No more, he said. No more. This is where I make my stand for social justice. He was probably the biggest adversary and critic Stardew Leaf faced during this time of internet insanity, because nobody had quite the reaction towards the Space Buns incident quite like Dylan did. It started with a tweet being highlighted by average Twitter users. I want to fight this bitch in an Applebee's parking lot so bad.
Welcome to the Salty Spittoon. How tough are you?
How tough am I? How tough am I?
I'll fight you in real life.
Yes, so?
Outside of an Applebee's parking lot.
Right this way. Sorry to keep you waiting.
This caused quite a few people to make fun of him and poke him for reactions, and from what I can tell, he interpreted this as people coming to harass him because Space Buns Girl told them to, which caused him to tweet even more about her, to the point where she started actually making fun of him and made his interpretation a reality. This made for some pretty funny tweets and other funny Twitter shenanigans. However, it didn't really take long for these shenanigans to get completely out of hand when Dylan went out of his way to dox a fucking 14-year-old, just because this 14-year-old was very mean to him on the internet. Very not good indeed. Just ask Sky Jackson, because just like her, Dylan, he's an adult too, and doxing children on social media never seems to go well for the adults who do it. And it did not end well for Dylan, because almost immediately he faced criticism and backlash from the very same people who were completely on board with his crusade against the Space Buns Girl, and soon his support system on Twitter started to really tank. This is where things get scary. His attacks on Space Buns Girl got progressively worse and worse, up to the point where he was allegedly using 3 different alt accounts just to harass her. It actually got so bad that Stardew Leaf herself was literally begging him to stop, and that's without even mentioning batshit crazy conspiracy theory that Dylan found himself in the middle of. You see, some people on Twitter started pointing fingers at who could have been behind the attempt to hack into Stardew Leaf's Twitter account, and most people started pointing their fingers at Dylan. They started claiming that Dylan was running a fake Instagram account impersonating Stardew Leaf so that he could farm screenshots to use against her. And actually, people started to back this up with the allegations that he was running 3 different stock accounts on Twitter just to harass Stardew, so it made sense. He was the prime suspect behind this. Although, to be fair, this is pure speculation, and thus probably not true. There is really no evidence to back this up, but people are convinced that Dylan was behind the attempt to hack into Stardew Leaf's Twitter account. But regardless, the way he acted over this was actually pretty fucking scary. POV, you're Space Buns Girl, and I throw my drink in your face. Very scary stuff indeed. As of making this video, Stardew Leaf has unfortunately deleted her Twitter account, and she has left the platform entirely, most likely due to the constant harassment over the Space Buns incident. However, this does not mean there isn't a happy ending to this story, because there is. You see, although there were hundreds of people harassing this girl and calling her a racist over her choice of hairstyle in a fucking children's game, there were thousands of people who saw just how outrageous this situation was and who jumped in to defend this girl. Not only that, but a good chunk of these people did it in the most wholesome ways possible. They made fan art of Stardew Leaf, they posted statuses on Twitter asking their followers to go and compliment her, and many in the Animal Crossing community started posting their own pictures of their avatars wearing space buns. They actually formed a positive movement to counteract the harassment campaign against this girl, and you know what? It's still going strong. And while all these people are having fun and are spending time making the internet a much more positive place, the cult that started the crusade against this girl for her virtual space buns are left to sit there and skulk in the fact that because of them, thousands and thousands of people are now wearing space buns. Does that answer your question, Barack?
No, that was an interesting story, but it doesn't explain how we got to space.
Ooh, right. How could I forget that? It's almost like I'm bad at story structure or something. Well, okay, here's what really happened. Elon Musk, he turned out to be Space Buns Girl, and this was all a social experiment so he could gather attention and money for SpaceX, and as you know, they do space things at SpaceX. So 2 years after that, they had enough money to send every human being to space, and you want to know what Elon did then? He fucking nuked Earth. You want to know why? It was because he could. So there was no planet Earth left to go back to. We were just stuck in space, flying around, and that's how it's been for the past, fucking 70 years. It's all space, man. There's no Earth left. We can't go back. We're just here in space with our space buns, drinking our space beer, and you're sitting there not respecting my personal space. Jesus fucking Christ. This is probably the worst way I've ever ended a video, but yeah, if you guys liked it, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.